I know how you like to linger over yours down at the courthouse now that you get the daytime meetings.
Oh, what do you mean?
I mean, anything at all?
Right, we're live.
Yes, I read that today and saw the picture.
We have some feedback.
I didn't see a picture, but I mean, I kind of figured I know.
Oh, yeah, he's just, it's from the above,
All right.
top down.
Let's call this meeting to order. 6:32. We have both in-person and virtual participants today. All city councilors are present, and we have representatives from the Grand Marais Arts Colony as well to discuss stuff. And the library, who will come and talk to us in a sec. Okay, open forum. Does anybody have anything? Patrick? Anybody get any messages?
Only the one from Tim.
Should we
Yeah, Tim.
put that into the discussion, or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's on the agenda.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll handle that in the discussion then. Anything else for open forum? Hearing none, we will close the open forum. Go to the consent agenda. So, consent agenda has 5 things on it today. Typical 3 items: this meeting's agenda, the previous meeting minutes, and the approval of bills. And 2 new things. So the North Shore Federal Credit Union has an application for street use for their little summer bash. Looks the same as they've done it in the past. And
Yep.
then we also have Resolution 2021-07 accepting the ARPA funds, which those are the COVID relief funds that we've already accepted, I believe. No? That we will.
We can talk more about that during budget, but this
Notice
is a necessary procedural item.
Notice it's ARPA, not AARP.
Yeah, exactly. That's a little different. So unless someone would like to pull something for discussion, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I would so move. I'm wondering though, Mike, what you said about Tim, like, do we have to add that to the agenda, or it's
No,
already
it's
in
already
there?
It's
on the
in there.
It is there? Okay.
Yep.
Great.
H.
Barring that.
Okay, is there a second for that motion?
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, go to a roll call vote. Anton, since you're not here.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Michael, your vote?
Aye.
Craig, your vote?
Aye.
Kelly, your vote?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. Motion carries. Moving right along, we got the library budget request for 2022. Got 2 representatives here. Oh, there we go.
Is this what we do?
Come on up.
Yeah, come on
you
up.
can just scooch up.
Drag up your chair, please.
I think that you guys are
What up?
the first in-person guests that
It's
we've
no
had
accident.
since. Yeah, exactly. Let's get down to business.
They are.
Yeah. So the library always is one of the first departments to bring the budget request to us, and they have done so again with a updated budget. I'll let you guys take it away from there. This is the first year I haven't worked on the budget for the library for 6 years. So
Well, it's pretty straightforward. The changes in it were what are kind of estimates provided by the city, and much of that is out of our control, and so we haven't really changed anything beyond that. And that's very significant as well. So anytime the library budget is above 5%, it will require county approval as well. And so we'll be having more discussions about that at the county level, but city first, and so is 6.7% above last year's. And part of the conversation that didn't happen at the committee level, but more at the library board level, was, is that enough? Because we were just trying to pare things down and to keep things on the level. But I think we just agreed that let's take it slow, especially going out of COVID, and just get our feet underneath us again and go from there. So one of the more significant increases is in building insurance, and that's something that I'm hearing about statewide as well. MCIT is the risk management company for Minnesota counties, and they're seeing a lot of property insurance claims go up as well, and also PTSD claims for law enforcement, which I think is significant and interesting, so. But if there's any specific questions about any specific line items, we can talk more about them.
Yeah, I think you did a good job of pointing out that when you go down line item by line item, the only things that have changed in this budget from last year are items that are out of your control to calculate the actual impact of them. Question I have about the staffing that you're that is represented in this 2022 budget, is that a staffing that reflects full open hours, you know, like everything that we were expecting to do before COVID?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah, and one other item, or one other item that we discussed was if we should cut back because of these increases that are out of our control, if we should cut back on other items like, say, books. And what we decided is, like, we do not want to reduce the service provided to the community. We want to maintain that and then, you know, deal with these increased costs that are out of our control. So there was some discussion about if you look at the books and periodicals line item. How can I point that out well?
I found it.
Okay,
Don't worry.
boom, like that. If you look at the history of that line item, you can see that it started out much smaller and has grown over time, and that was an effort to kind of buffer the creation of the library assistant position. And so at that point, the books budget was reduced significantly and then grown over time. And as you can see, that this year it's not being proposed to grow at all, just to maintain.
No.
I was going to ask something. I totally lost it. Oh, I remember what it was now. So in regards to, you know, the expense for books and periodicals, as well as the expense of operating the library, you know, saying a 6.7% increase is basically a modest increase to make sure that the services that are offered by the library can continue to be offered. I think that it's been proven multiple times in a lot of different ways how important library services are to communities, especially when times, you know, things get more expensive, times get tough, that kind of a thing. Access to books, access to periodicals, access to the kind of infrastructure that we have in our library, I think it's extremely important to our community. I think that an investment in the staff for the library is an investment in our community for the library. So I guess that's what I think about the 2022 budget. Anybody else have any thoughts on it? And just to be clear too, you're bringing this to us. We have the option to approve this at this meeting if we think that works, or we can keep thinking about it.
Yeah, I don't think there's any. Ideally, it would be passed along at this meeting, but I don't think there's a time crunch as far as the county is concerned. I just think there's going to be more, you know, generally it's nice to keep it as low as we can, just like we like to do with anything, especially below 5%, so we can really streamline and simplify the process. But in these circumstances, it is going to be, or we're proposing it to be above that, and so that'll.
Can't control your health insurance and you can't control your building insurance, so.
Not
I mean,
not much, yeah.
And health insurance, we don't know yet. I'm sure that will be found out probably in another 2 months.
We don't know building insurance either.
Yeah.
We'll know that in a week or two, probably.
Oh, okay.
So that's a good
Well,
question.
that's a good
Is that a
point.
good question for Kim then? That, you know, are these estimates for health insurance and for the building insurance, are these on the high end, like estimating for what the maximum could be, rather than shooting for the middle, that kind of a thing?
Yeah, at this point,
I believe the insurance is a little bit high. You're estimating 10%. I'm expecting it to come in maybe closer to 6 or 7, but we don't know that yet. The building insurance might be a little high. We don't know that yet. A part-time salary, we're just hiring a new clerk. One resigned, so that could go down just a little bit. And we also have that 215 fund that books and periodicals could be used for if you need to bring the budget down a little.
My question was in salaries, and the 3% is our negotiated contract for 20.
We don't have a negotiated contract for next year.
Oh, two
We have
years
to do
will be
that.
up now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll have to do that.
Okay,
Yeah, so that's a guess.
okay, because it's, which I get it's higher than
It's out of
that
the bag.
because of step increases for staff, but I know we've hired quite a few new staff members here on and off in the last year or two. So I was just
Yeah.
wondering if those aren't maybe just a little bit high, but again,
Well, they're partially high because we've hired new people, and that first year of moving through the steps goes quite a bit faster. You start at 90%, and then 6 months you get a 5% bonus, and 6 months another 5%. So it's that first year of, semi-probationary time, and then you're at what we would consider our base wage.
geez.
So some of these are still accelerating, but when it's the part-time folks, then, it takes a little longer for them to get through that
Mhm.
number of hours equivalent to a full year.
Mhm.
And so what Kim's saying is when we hire a new person there, yeah, maybe there'll be some of this that can come down. I think that all of those variables we will continue to look at probably after the preliminary levy is approved in September and make some decisions about them then before the final levy is approved in December.
It's also, I think it's important to notice that the difference in the budget that causes a 6.7% increase is 26,000, like a little under $27,000. So this is, that's a fair amount of money, don't get me wrong, but that's not an astronomical amount of money when you look at the operation of the library itself. If you look at that $27,000 and then the amount that the library uses for either, the ALS membership or for books and periodicals, like those numbers are pretty similar. So the way I look at it, we're investing in our partnership with ALS, which provides us to operate the library at the level that we want to. We're investing in the books, which actually keep our collection relevant and keep our collection attractive to people, and we invest in the people and make sure that the library can actually be open and that it can actually operate. So I don't have a problem with the budget as it's presented, is what I'm saying.
I'm the finance number girl,
I know
so
you
I
are.
look at it, I'm not saying I have a problem, I just want to understand all of it. And when you start comparing, then the numbers step out.
Mhm.
But
I also have been on
We
every
have-
single library
we have-
budget that
I
for the
know,
past
I'm-
many years.
this is what I
For
do, leave me alone,
For me,
Jay.
it's a little bit easier to just look at the numbers and be like, yeah, I remember that. I remember what happened. Anyway, so what are your thoughts?
So, yeah, Kelly, any problems?
No, I'm all right with it.
Okay.
I didn't say there was problems.
Well,
You have to understand. I
Okay.
ran numbers, I said, it's over 3%, but with staff step increases, that changes it. When I ran it today, PERA, FICA, Medicare, all fit within what we say the increases are.
Yeah.
These are the things I do. But if you look at, so I'll look at 2021 year-to-date through April, 117,000. Divide by 4 times by 12, projection is 351. Obviously, there's stuff missing yet, things that will happen that pushes that up. We've approved 406, so it's like 351 compared to 433. Last year, you can't count 2020, that was quite the year.
Yeah.
You go back to 2019, I'll say that's normal. Where are we going for 2022? But I'm comfortable with it because there's things that we don't know yet, and I suspect some of this will come down.
And really, when I was looking over the numbers, it just really felt to me like you were saying, this is an investment, and libraries are vital, and just like we've all kind of talked about, when you look at those numbers over time, it's like, yeah, it is an increase, but it's not outrageous compared.
And everything's
To
gonna
what we can
increase.
control. And
Salaries
yeah.
don't drop back, they go up. Insurance typically doesn't drop back,
Right.
it typically goes up. I mean, I'm expecting it. The thing is, what I look at are what are patterns, what's expected, what is
Yeah.
projected, and where are we going? Do I think this is a horrible investment? Absolutely not. I just like to look at what are patterns, why do things jump, what happens when things really drop or when things really jump. That's where I get interested in
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
I think two key patterns then to look at are the books and periodicals. If you go back to 2018 at 11,000, that's not all the money we spent on books and periodicals in 2018. We also used some of the capital 215 funds. And so that 24,000 is really what operationally we've been at for a very long time at the library. And when you look at that number, that kind of doesn't tell that tale very well. And then the other factor that can really make a big difference is the health insurance cost. The difference in price between someone that's accepting single coverage versus someone that's accepting family coverage is big. And you can see then big shifts from year to year on that.
Right.
And that's another big difference between the, 2018 and then 19 and then today, is that number going up and down.
Yep. And we made steps to try to help, it's not alleviate, but lessen the blow of our health insurance for employees and for the city, the taxpayers. So I'm very happy with what we did, and our staff members are happy with their plans. So that was a good thing that we did.
It's always kinks to work out, but you can always, yeah, it was a good step. Well, council, I mean, I make a motion to approve this. I mean, I'll just do that. I'm gonna make a motion to approve the 2022 budget. Is there a
And I will
for that?
second that.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion on the 2022 library budget? Hearing none. Anton, your vote?
Aye.
Michael, your vote?
Aye.
Craig, your vote?
Aye.
Kelly, your vote?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. You made me wait there for a second.
I know. Don't do that. Just get ya.
Motion carries. Thank you for presenting a reasonable budget, and good luck with the county.
Thanks. Thank you for your work on it.
Thanks, Amanda. Thank you,
All right.
Dave.
My pleasure, thank you very much.
Always a
nice to have
pleasure to
guests
have you
again.
back.
Yeah.
And thank you for all the work during COVID. Hopefully
Yeah.
we are really climbing out of the dungeon. So
Yes. Indeed.
maybe now people can start to enjoy life again a little bit, figure out what the new norm will be.
I know my kiddo is really happy to be back. Like,
Mhm.
have access to the library back. It's been there all the time.
It's great seeing everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Good night, bye.
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 Bye, Dave. It's always a pleasure.
It's okay.
I hope we got
Oh,
Keep that on.
thanks, Dave.
Got all that on camera. Okay. Moving right along. So we have, is Ruth still there? Ruth is there.
Yeah.
We have Ruth Swaro from the Grand Marais Art Colony to discuss parking restrictions for the art festival. And now you'll probably, Ruth, you'll have to give me a little bit more of a breakdown of the request, because it seems to me like, if we provide some barriers and then you guys put them where you need to protect the space that you're looking for, then we're probably just about there, unless I'm missing some of the nuance of this. So why don't you give us an explanation, and we'll see what we got here.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I am Ruth Pizzuaro. From those of you I don't know or haven't met, the artistic director at the Art Colony. And Lynn Salisbury might be popping in as well. She's our events coordinator. Patrick, I do have a couple of things to share as far as visuals go. I'm more familiar with Zoom. Can you give me a little tutorial on how to share my screen?
Yeah, if you, just a second here, on the bottom row with the different icons, there's one with a square and an arrow pointing up. Press that, and then you should have the option to share your entire screen or share a window, and just whichever one makes more sense to you, click that.
And can you share, maybe I'm not able to, can you share like a PDF, which is what I have, or a Word document?
Yeah, if you're gonna share a PDF, I would try sharing a window and then selecting the PDF. If you have it, open the PDF first and then select that as the window that you want to share.
Okay, great. So, and I apologize, I usually have two screens and I'm just had my computer upgraded, so I have everything on one little screen here, but can you see that map?
Yes, that works.
Okay, so I just want to start by saying this is our 30th annual Arts Festival, and we already had in works looking at a different location because of the construction. We also decided to look at a place that we could spread out a bit more. And so the school has been a good partner for us this year. So this is a map that shows how we're going to set up the festival for 60 artists. We usually have 75, but we've made it through probably 10 different iterations of outdoor large-scale event planning because of COVID guidelines. And so at one point we had to commit to a few things, and one was 6-foot distancing between the artists' tents. And this 60-person limit allowed us to do that. So we're using both the West Main ISD parking lot as well as the elementary behind the ACA parking lot. And WTIP will be there for Saturday morning like they always are. And just excited. This is a $1 million economic impact festival. It is a microcosm of the arts in the Midwest and the Great Lakes region. And so we're super glad to have made it through and figure out how to host it this year. I'm going to just share now the request. Sorry, it's in a different window here. Okay, so you can see this now, the Word document.
No.
No.
Okay, let me see here. Share.
Now we
Now?
can see it. Yep.
Okay. All right. So yeah. So I know the agenda said parking. We're actually requesting 3 things, and so the first, which has been granted, is blockades, and that solves a ton of problems. We're working with the YMCA and the community center for event parking. So we will have 4 event parking signs, and we'll have 4 festival signs with some directional arrows. So we're really trying to work to make sure people know where they're going. And so it's been great to work with Diane and Emily and figure things out with some additional event parking. The blockades are fine. We're just requesting that they're in place Thursday evening so that by the time we get there at 8 a.m. on Friday, we can start chalking out where the booths are. And the first artist comes at 11 a.m. That's Friday, July 9th. The second request we have that you'll see there is that we are trying to solve the problem of trash and recycling. And so typically, because we've hosted the festival downtown and Harbor Park area, the city has taken care of trash receptacles as well as removal of trash and recycling. And so we'd like to problem solve that with the city to figure out at the school what's possible. The third request is that we did, per Mike's suggestion, survey the surrounding areas, several blocks in the surrounding areas of the school, and asked about parking. And it was interesting. We talked to 10 plus homeowners in that area, and there was there's a good consensus that yes, like having some kind of street parking is helpful because there's many residents who don't have a drive or they have more than one vehicle. And then the Grand du Nord happened, and the Grand du Nord brought a lot more comments our way. And one of the main ones was, yeah, I had nowhere to park in front of my house. And the Grand du Nord was staged at the YMCA. So So what we're requesting based on that input is that there would be resident-only signage on one side of the street, First and Second Avenues, going down from the school, from 5th to 3rd for Saturday and Sunday. And then the other comment that we got was, especially because of the truck traffic and the reroute on County Road 7 going into 5th Street, that parking only on the south side of the street would provide for additional safety.
This is more.
Yeah.
The request.
I'm sorry, Ruth, you're not here in the room. The letter that's sent to us from Liz asked for north side parking on 5th Street.
Yeah, she had that incorrect. It's south side, because the reason being is that all the activity, well, and maybe that's something to discuss too, Kelly. I'm fine with discussing that. I think the goal was like one side of that street, especially with the truck traffic and those, we typically have 10,000 visitors to this event, or more. We don't know with COVID what that will look like, but we certainly have had as much or more traction on our social media in the same ways.
We're not missing any tourism due to COVID last year or this year.
That's right.
So that's all I have to present. Happy to talk through that or answer any questions.
Okay.
Here's my concern as I first think of this, and I think about where I live. I'm not opposed to directing people and having resident parking, but we've never done it when they're downtown and everybody parks up the streets. We don't do it at Fisherman's Picnic when everybody parks all the way up to 3rd Street, all the way across town. I feel like I'm concerned about people's safety, but if we made it through the Grand du Nord and we make it through, typically, this is downtown, Fisherman's Picnic, and we start picking and choosing, then we set a precedent where we kind of need to do we need to do this at Fisherman's Picnic so people have resident parking? You know what I mean? I have a concern with that as to a precedent we set and how we go about this. When I think about parking on 5th Street, north side or south side, I think north side I can see opening your car door could be dangerous with some of the traffic going by, but south side means you're also crossing
the street
in front of So no easy, simple answer, but those are some of the thoughts that came across my mind as I was looking at this, trying to think through it.
Yeah, and I agree with Kelly. Basically, if I summarize these three things, right? So one is the blockades. I don't think there's any problems with us providing blockades for you. The second is, garbage receptacles. That seems like a common sense kind of thing. It's going to be a lot of people up there. We've got extra ones. We can probably help out with that. The third one, the parking. Yeah, that seems to become more of a convenience kind of request. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I mean, I've had. There are certain events that happen in my neighborhood where people park right, up my street, past my house, and it kind of is a bummer, but it's not that big of a deal, especially if it's just a day or two. I'm not super worried about the precedent of it necessarily. I just think that, like, number one, the enforceability of it is really tricky, and also, if we limit parking to one side during that festival, or we, do something to control the parking, then people who live on those streets are still going to have to park on that side in theory. Unless there's like a permit we give them that are like, if you have a permit, you can park on the other side of the street. It's getting way too complicated then.
Absolutely.
And as soon as one person parks on the opposite side of the street where there's a sign that says you can't park here, then I just wonder about the efficacy of it. That's the only thing I wonder about it. I do understand that perhaps people who need to use the street for parking, could put something out and be like, this is my spot, please don't take this spot. You can't do that?
No, can't do that.
No, because it's a public street.
It's a public street.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, Jay, your concern is my concern, that we're just not gonna be able to do a very good job of this.
Right.
That we don't have the signage that we would need, and even if we were to acquire 50 or so resident parking only signs, the first time one person parks there, it's over. And we absolutely couldn't enforce it. We wouldn't know who's a resident and not. We wouldn't, you know, if both sides of the street are parked up, I don't even know what we would try to do to enforce it. So it seems like it's a, you know, temporary issue with this one-time event that's going to move back downtown in the
Yeah.
future.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
even with Grand du Nord, you know. in that-
But it is interesting to hear from folks about that, and maybe on a longer-term basis, to think about the idea of, are we ever going to do permits and resident parking, or one side, you know, odd even all year, or those sorts of things.
Mhm.
And those roads up there are different than the ones that are closer to downtown. They are narrower, and although most folks do have off-street parking, there were a handful that don't up there.
Well,
Yeah.
and the safety, you know, like you said, narrower streets, and even now I notice I always try and take back routes, but now that the highway's not available and taking routes, and really truly trying to stop at a stop sign and see through an intersection, in many of our intersections is complicated, which is not the problem, obviously, right now that it's at hand, but, yeah. It's something you'd like to do, but I just don't think it's feasible to do. And as far as trash cans go, do we have to have staff pick it up then on the weekend if we
Well-
provide them?
No, and as a matter of fact, that was my suggestion to them, is we have cans they can use, but we don't have extra staff to go pick them up. You know, it's one thing when they're downtown and we're already doing that route. It's a whole nother thing to go up there. And I'm happy to talk more with them about how we can help, but I don't think that just taking it on is the right solution either.
Mhm.
Typically, when we talk to event organizers, we want them to deal with these issues that they're asking us to deal with.
Mhm.
Trash in particular,
Yeah.
you know, vendor trash more than anything else, but make some allowances for the extra trash that is going to be created, whether it's a dumpster or two that you get placed by the event. And then restrooms, it's something we expect them to take care of, and then
Mhm.
parking, particularly vendor parking, where downtown, if all the art vendors want to be close to their setup, because they've got equipment that they're bringing in and such, and that's going to be a problem at the school too, I imagine, is that it's
Well-
not just going to be guests, it's going to be residents and visitors and vendors and
I don't know,
everybody
it's not on
else.
here, so on.
If I could speak to that, Mike, we do have 3 places where vendors can park, and they're preset, and so they're not parking on the street, particularly if they have a big trailer. I think with the parking in general, my biggest fear is really the crossing, and Fifth Street is another solution to possibly, the orange flags that were put on Fifth down to North House and Angry Trout. Is there something like that where people can, especially if people are parking on both sides of Fifth, is there a safe way to help people cross the road there?
I'm actually wondering if, and not that we can speak for them, but I'm wondering if it isn't worth a call to Sheriff Eliason. And, we have a city patrolman, if obviously they're all over and it's very busy at this time of year, and this is 4th of July weekend kickoff, it gets busy and next weekend, but if there can be maybe more of a presence for that officer patrolling through that area through the weekend, or even just spending some time sitting in the area, like they do when school's in session, they'll go sit for 15 minutes at a time, watching people go through, just so people are aware that there is patrol. I think that might be the best way to signify to people to be cautious.
For Fisherman's
What about
Picnic,
is there, I mean, the highway department and like the event congestion ahead signs that get put out, do you guys plan on doing that like on either end of, you know, say on 3rd West and down over to 1st East or something, so people coming through on 5th Street on 7, you know, kind of have that in their face?
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, I mean, that, you know how many signs there are up there right now, so I'm not sure whether they'll even be noticed, but that's certainly what we would do, is put them up on County Road 7, east and west of the event.
I mean, I noticed them, I mean, in dealing with all this, just what the construction, but then when the ones got added before the LeGrand, I mean, they were different, right? I mean, so, and.
Yeah, and
I mean,
we might be able to get some orange flags set up too. I think that's a worthwhile idea. What the Lions do downtown when we've got road crossing issues, like when the road's not completely closed and they've got stuff going on both sides, is they've had crossing guards, basically, volunteers stationed at those intersections. The difference being downtown that they're always 4-way stop intersections, and up here they're not. So it's definitely going to be a trickier spot.
I think there's probably, all the things that we're saying, I think are all part of the solution, and all can be part of the solution to some extent, you know. I mean, as far as parking on 5th is concerned, you know, if we want to really flag the crossing places where people can get away or get across and not have it be just like a million people filtering across the road, which it probably will be anyway, then it seems like parking on one side is probably the best. If we want to just leave it all open and just go for it.
I don't think we can tell them they can't park on one side, can we? I mean, how do we enforce it? And what time Sunday do the tents open, Ruth?
On Sunday?
On you mean the last day or the first day?
On Sunday.
Sunday they open at 10.
Oh, you're thinking about church.
Yeah, see, Bethlehem starts church service at 10:30, so that even is going to be probably
Yeah, thankfully
Yeah.
they're still a little bit low on the
attendance.
in-persons.
Yeah.
No, this is, you know, what would really be nice is the yellow painted intersection treatment at the school entrance that was
Right.
so difficult to use, but in this case would be perfect for that added visibility for
Yeah.
the crossing.
Yeah, like
So
temporary
some of
bumps.
that on 7 did get kind of permanent, and maybe we just need to go up there and touch up that white paint where you're not supposed to park very close to the intersection, and just that little extra bit of room makes that crossing
Yeah.
somewhat
Yeah,
safe.
so people can
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, they did those temporary bump outs,
Yeah.
pedestrian bump outs.
I mean,
And I've
that would
seen
be
those-
perfect for this.
I've seen
situation.
those a lot of other places too, where they put those you know, rubber bollards up that just kind of stick.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
They put 4 or 5 of them there. Then when
So-
you're done with them, you just kind of.
I'm a little confused, maybe, Ruth, is what are we saying we can do, and my suggestion is to call the sheriff's department, that Ruth would do that, calling the highway department for event congestion ahead.
We actually have those signs.
We have those
Yeah.
signs?
We will
Okay,
put those out.
okay. So we can do the blockades, the garbage cans, and the event congestion.
I don't think we said garbage cans. I think that's on them.
No.
You said we have them.
We have,
We can provide.
But
Here's
it's
what
on-
we offered. We can provide blockades and have them in the vicinity for the art colony to set up when they want them set up. But I don't have staff in the evening, so I can't
Right.
set them up in the evening. And we have extra cans that we can provide and set out, but so far we haven't offered to pick up the trash, but they're
No.
asking us to.
right.
Mhm.
And then, you know, we can set up some orange flags for crossings, but there's an event parking sign, but there's not a lot more that I think that we could do.
Got it. And Ruth, maybe you already did this, but reaching out to school just to check in with them, see, especially since they've got a dumpster right there, and checking in with North Shore Waste, and, you know, there
Yeah.
might be use our trash cans, put them in that dumpster, talk to North Shore Waste about a pickup.
Right. I mean, I know, yeah, we have not yet. We've worked closely with Tom and with Megan
Okay.
to do this whole process, but we haven't gone through the trash yet. And I think it was just thinking through in the last few weeks, oh, right, we usually have that taken care of.
Mhm.
I mean, I think, you know, just to be honest, we're a very small staff. We're a nonprofit. We're providing a huge event coordination. I understand. Also a really different year. And so I'd really ask for some kind of coordination, if possible, in any way that the city would partner with us in some way to figure this out. We are looking at the recycling, we're also looking at trash, and typically the city comes through at least twice in every day that we have the festival. It's not like an end of day thing, it's quite a bit. There'll be less food trash, I believe, this year. It's just a lot, and I get it. I understand you're asking organizations that are hosting events to figure it out. But with all of those extra components, I'd ask for some partnering support.
Well, I mean,
So on Sunday and on Sunday, do we have staff that works and picks trash?
Yes,
Who
Downtown.
is
Yeah.
that the?
They go through downtown.
we've got both Streets and Parks Department that are doing that 7 days a week. And
From the bathrooms.
And we're doing it down here this weekend that they're hosting the festival as well. So if we were gonna go up there as well, I mean, that's just a lot of extra time that we don't necessarily have the staff to provide right now. I mean, we're still adding people to our staff as we can to try and keep up with what we normally do, so.
Mhm.
If you tell me that you want us to do it, we'll figure out a way, but I don't know how yet. I might ask one of you to come with me.
Well,
Well,
it picked
I-
up like, typically it gets picked up once a day or twice?
Twice a day.
Twice a day.
Yeah.
Saturday and Sunday.
And then,
Are there
you
gonna
know,
be food
sometimes more.
vendors at the event? At the school with the art festival? Will there be food vendors up there, you know?
No, we've really streamlined things. So that's what
Okay.
I'm saying. I think that part's going to be potentially different depending on what people, they can have food in there. At one iteration 2 months ago, we weren't not going to allow food, but they can have food in there. We don't have any vendors who are going to be selling or doing any food there.
That
Yeah.
just helps with the trash.
I think it helps a
Yeah.
lot. I
It
suspect.
helps a lot with the
Where
trash
does-
potential problem.
And where do we take our trash when we get rid of it
Over to the
We have dumpsters.
dumpsters at the rec park.
at the rec park?
Yeah.
So they run a route and haul it back. I mean, they could run a route, go up through there. I don't know how many cans you think they would need or.
Well, she asked for two, one in the
Two.
west and one in the elementary and the high.
Well, at one point they asked for 12, I thought.
Oh,
how many are you asking for?
Well, that's a great question. I know that Lynn put that in. I definitely know it's more than two. I
You don't
guess
even necessarily have 12.
like 8 would be
12 extra cans, yeah.
great with, are we just talking trash or do you have recycling receptacles
We
at
don't
all?
do any recycling.
no recycle.
That was
Okay.
the Lions Club that did that.
That would
Okay.
be a lot of sorting and labor for our guys because it
Yeah.
always gets mixed.
Yeah.
So I would say 6, like if there, minimum 4, maximum 8, something like that.
How many do we got? We got a bunch, don't we?
No.
No, they
I mean,
painted a bunch.
yeah, we have
up
a
and
bunch,
placed
but
them.
they're being used. I think we can come up with 4. Maybe we can come up with a few more. But I mean, it's not like just add it to the route means a couple hours of their time, a couple times a day, potentially. If
Well, it has
it's-
to be
if it's
something
being
you
used a
have to
lot.
communicate to them to see if it's possible or not. I mean, I can't answer for them. I mean, you probably can better than I can.
Yeah, and my answer is we don't have extra time to do this, so we'll have to add some kind of staffing to be able to add that service.
Hmm.
And this is July 10th and 11th.
Yeah, so a week from.
Yeah, I mean, even though they're not gonna be downtown, it's still gonna be busy downtown.
Right.
There's still a lot of trash downtown.
Yeah.
And what time does it finish on set? Is it finish at 5 both days?
4 p.m. both days.
Okay.
Anybody want to volunteer to go pick them? I could volunteer to pick
Wow.
them up either Saturday night or very early Sunday morning.
I love the art fest.
I can't do it
was
on a
actually-
Monday, I work.
I was thinking about sending Ruth a text while we were talking, just to be like, hey, I'll come and help you pick up some garbage, because that sounds like a really great thing for the to have volunteers help with too.
Yeah, we usually have 60 volunteers. We have 20 right now. We don't do a lot of the same activities that we're doing, so it's not bad, but with the extra event parking and this crosswalk, we have just extra needs that way that are still not filled. But I want to find a solution too, and I'm happy. I mean, I can check in with the school and see what they're willing to do also. I mean, one of the options is instead of having any employees or any volunteers lug them to the rec center, maybe the school would be just fine having us put them in their dumpster there and North Shore coming, or like maybe there's a partnership that way where the city could help with that cost of or I don't know how that works, with your own trash, but something where we just don't have to lug it down to Rec Park.
Yeah, I think that was a brilliant idea, and I think that was my idea.
The
So-
cost piece can't be that much. I mean, we're all,
You're looking
it's
at-
taxpayer dollars one way or the other, whether it's a school or it's a city, so,
Just gotta find somebody.
Yeah, I mean, if it's going, I mean, the dumpster is just right there, so it seems like that would be
Still
a
not
great.
the barrier, though. I mean, getting it down to the rec park in the back of a pickup truck doesn't take a lot of time or effort. It's the actual going up to each can, getting the bag out of it, closing the bag, putting a new one in. And, if it's not a lot of trash, that doesn't have to take very long. But if it's a big mess, it can take a very long time to do that.
Right,
Right.
yeah.
So, I mean, and I just can't help but imagine it being a big mess. It doesn't seem like that's what's going to happen, just thinking about the types of things that would be at vendor show at the art festival, but
Since there's no food booths up there, that's gonna be a huge,
there will be food.
yeah, but nobody's selling it.
No, you said there will be food vendors, or?
You said there won't
No, there's no food
be.
vendors.
There's no food vendors.
There's the only thing is we're looking into potentially providing a lunch for the artists, like hooking them up with how they can order a lunch. And so, but other than that, there's no other vendors there. And that vendor won't be on site.
Got it. I guess I don't know what to say. I mean, it seems like we're, it's kind of like a blood out of the turnip kind of thing. Our guys are already working, doing everything that we need them to do. So asking them to take, one more trip up there seems like, when you say that on just out loud, it says, well, that doesn't sound like it's too much. But then when you start thinking about loading, unloading, and all of the
Bags.
like that sort of thing, if the most streamlined thing I could think of is if we could find some place, it just seems like we're recreating the wheel. Like if you could
Yeah.
find a, get a partnership with the school so that you could, have the garbage go into the dumpsters up there,
they're
then.
not there at 5 o'clock at night either.
I mean, I'd be.
No, but then all they gotta find is somebody to.
I
If
could
they have
probably
volunteers-
scrounge up a couple volunteers for you.
Right, if they have volunteers working up there, all I have to do is put the trash in
In the
Yeah.
can at,
Right.
Well,
or Peterson, if they run a route, they'd probably pick it up on Saturday if they run a route, but I don't know if they do.
I don't know, they're hurting for help too.
And it's not going to be easy to get into this place with a vehicle.
It'll be blocked off.
right.
Well, I'm thinking the garbage cans should be by the parking areas, really, not in amongst
Yeah,
with the artist.
yeah.
I think it'd be more beneficial to have them by the parking areas where people are gonna be,
Ruth, do you have a diagram of where you put the garbage cans? Or are you just gonna kind of like feel it out with how many you get?
Sure.
We can help with that.
Yeah, put them out so they're easy to get at,
Yeah.
and I think there's a way we can.
By the
How many do we have
crosswalks.
that we can contribute?
We said 4?
I don't really know. We've talked a little bit about it as
Well,
staff level, but
can we say,
I don't have
can we
inventory.
agree on a couple of things? One is barricades, yeah, we'll put barricades.
Yep.
And we'll get those out in time so that you have them to block things off. Garbage cans, we'll give you as many as we can that you can use. We'll either tell you where to pick them up or drop them off. I don't know if is that Or is that something, I don't want to volunteer the guys for something that's gonna overextend them.
Well, we'll deliver them and pick them up when they're done.
Okay.
And that can be done on our time when it's convenient and not.
Okay, so then parking. you know,
I don't
some-
think
Yeah, I don't
we can
think
help
we're-
with parking.
Well, I mean, we can give some flags and some
Yeah,
things like
okay.
that.
Yeah.
Flags,
Crosswalks.
signs,
Yeah.
Yeah, so if we do those things.
and
and
paint,
then-
we said,
And
right?
then, like, we might just have to kind of sit on the garbage thing, talk to the school, see what you can do, see if we can figure out, you know, a volunteer help thing, or, you know, we'll do everything we can do to help you as long as it doesn't compromise the other things that we're doing as well, you know, and that, I think that, does that summarize everything reasonably well? Is there anything glaring that I'm missing? You know, we can also just like we can also tell the guys, well, I don't know,
I think we
Ruth,
take them
if
out
you
of
would-
it.
If you work with the school and see if you can get something figured out there. and
Yeah,
then,
because I'm thinking about those really sturdy bags, and if you don't have a lot of food in them, I mean, you can just take it, tie it, and whoever is volunteering or whenever they can get to it, and then eventually take it and throw it in the dumpster. I don't know. I'm not sure this is going to be as big a thing, especially without a food vendor.
It's important to plan for it. though.
No, yeah, right.
I have like a trailer that you can pull behind a bike, which might be awesome for picking up garbage. Anyway,
Still like
that
a
we're
bike.
coming up with creative solutions. This is fabulous.
I have a four-wheeler that can pull that. through.
Yeah.
Just one pragmatic question is, are we supplying garbage can liners?
No, we can provide liners too.
Okay. Yeah, I think some of those solutions, particularly around the crosswalk and event congestion stuff, are great. And so it sounds like I can reach out to Sheriff Eliason and make that request. It doesn't have to come from the city, is that right?
Correct.
Yep, right.
Well, hopefully he's
Okay.
watching.
Justin is fishing.
Or he's fishing.
Well, I hope to see you all there. Please come. We'd love to
Definitely
help.
will. So
Absolutely.
does that, I mean, so we feel like we've got marching orders. Mike, do you understand? We're all on the same page as far as the discussion here?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So I think we've got it figured out from here. We can, you know, Ruth, if you figure something else out for plans, just fill us in. And yeah, I'll definitely be there. So let's work to it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Great. Thanks, Ruth. Okay, great. So we're gonna keep moving.
Yep.
Is that good? Everybody's doing all right?
Mhm.
All right. Next thing on the agenda is change orders for the Highway 61 project. We have two change orders. First is number 15, which talks about the change in materials for the piping we discussed last year. Was that last year already? Yikes. And then the second
we
one.
talked about it.
We talked
in
about it
February.
again.
In February. It seems like
Yeah.
It was
3 years
for
ago.
work done last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was for that intersection,
Yeah.
Correct, yep.
the one we're talking about now. This is for
The rest of them.
the rest of the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
the
the work's
second-
already done.
Yeah, we haven't
Yep.
talked about this one actually for
Which one is this
this
one, 15 or 18?
The 18.
15,
So-
change order 15. We had
No.
not talked about
It's just
this.
similar
It's
Right.
similar.
It's
as the
a
other.
decision that we made before. This is the
Mhm.
change order for.
Mhm.
But did we make that decision here, talk about it?
There's no decision in front of us.
Not
This
with the
had to
force
be
order.
done, and
It was for the
uh,
contamination of
It's
the soil.
already done.
Right,
Yeah,
and that was
so-
my question here. It says
Yeah.
for the second year of the project, the city of Grand Marais. And I didn't remember talking about it. I just wanted to know if that was something that,
Yeah, I'm
Our
not sure I
sewer-
would tell the story the way that they did, but we did ask our engineers, hey, there's areas of suspected contamination shown on other sites that we're installing water mains in. Is it the same issue? Do we have to do something about it? And that question resulted in this.
okay,
So they decided, yes, we do have to do something about it. We need to change the materials from plastic that we had originally planned to this
There it
stuff.
goes.
okay.
So,
So we have to handle each of these individually.
Okay.
So wondering about if we have any questions about change order number 15 we got right here? If not, if there's no questions, I would entertain a motion to approve change order number 15.
I will motion to approve change order number 15.
Great.
And I will second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion on change order number 15? Hearing none. Anton, your vote.
Aye.
Michael, your vote.
Aye.
Craig, your vote.
Aye.
Kelly, your vote.
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. Change order 15 is approved. Moving right along, change order 18. Move slowly with my words. This one is a little bit of a trickier one. And we anticipated that things like this were going to happen. That our ground is completely unpredictable. There's rock in there. There's all kinds of other stuff in there. We don't know where it is. So some of the sites have to be modified in order to make the plans that we have work. And Mike, correct me if I'm misrepresenting any of this, but what I understand is that this is a change order 18 is to open a force account which has a set amount of money in it as a placeholder for this kind of modification work that needs to be done in order to get the project done.
Yeah, 5,000 is an absolute stick a pin in the wall. It's not based on any actual real world estimate of what needs to get done. Maybe nothing needs to get changed, and maybe they find a lot of rock in an intersection that we didn't know there was rock in it.
So
So,
what you're saying is not, again, sorry, but it's not what this says. Issue, due to inaccuracies of sanitary sewer locations shown in the plan compared to what has been encountered during excavation.
The only inaccuracy that I'm aware of is the couple inches that we found to be different underneath the big culvert over by
the dentist?
the dentist's office.
Okay.
I'm not sure that there are other inaccuracies about pipe location that needed adjustment. And for me, this issue is a continuation of the conversation about, are we going to replace this pipe by digging it up and replacing it, or are we going to line it? And if we dig it up, then there is the risk that we're going to encounter what they're saying here, conditions that are different than what the plans say that need to be adjusted to.
And I'd be good with that. I don't have an issue, but that's not what this says. And in the
I'd be happy to ask them to.
the resolution
modify it.
says the contractor shall revise the sanitary sewer pipe and structures in the field as necessary. So
As far as legal writing is concerned, I feel like I understand what that's saying. I don't like it necessarily, because especially when it's attached to a force account, which basically says like they're going to do it and they're going to bill us for it.
No. The next clause is the more important one, with the revisions being assisted and or agreed upon by the city's engineer field representative. So it's not just the contractor. And this is a typical behavior that things are not exactly the way you think they are underground, and that we find things that are a little bit different and they need to be adjusted. That's a very typical behavior. I don't think that that's what's creating the risk factor where MnDOT wants to open a force account. I think it's the issue of, is there going to be rock somewhere that we didn't know, that's going to require significant work, like happened in the Broadway intersection.
Right. And so here, when we're talking about that $5,000, that's just, like you said,
Placeholder.
sticking a pin. What's that?
It's a placeholder.
It's a
Yeah.
placeholder and could go up, or are we saying like
Could
that's?
go down, could go up. I
Okay.
mean, the unknown is what's in the ground.
Correct.
And,
Right.
you know, the surveys that they've done as far as boring and things like that are representative of, you know, 1/100th of the project.
Okay.
And so they're drawing estimates based on the bored holes that they had and the little seismic readings that they've done. So they know that there's rock in the ground. They don't know exactly where it is.
Mhm.
They're gonna have to put these pipes in the ground. They're gonna have to open the holes up and figure out how to do
As
that
they
with
go.
what they find. That's my understanding of what's going on.
We've got rock shown on the plans in one of the intersections between 3rd and 8th, and no rock in the other intersections. So that could very well be what we find. If we need to actually use this force account to do work, 5,000 doesn't get you very far. So it'll
Oh.
certainly go up.
Okay.
And if we don't need to use this force account to do any work, then it could be 0.
And so this is a mechanism. This change order is basically creating a mechanism so that those revisions can happen in the field, as approved by the
Engineer.
engineer and field
Okay.
representative.
I don't know. It strikes me as reasonable.
I don't have a problem. It's not that it's unreasonable.
Yeah.
I feel that what we're saying, what Mike's telling us, and what it says the issue are different. And when it says inaccuracies of sanitary sewer locations shown in the plan compared to what has been encountered during excavation, the contractor will need to make field revisions to structures and size lengths of pipe runs. So I understand change orders, I understand you find surprise things, but this is talking about inaccuracies of locations, which should already be on our city plans. So are our my question was, as I read this, are our plans inaccurate and outdated, or did engineering miss something?
Well, I'm sure our plans are inaccurate and outdated. I don't know how that would be relevant when you're removing everything and replacing it with new stuff. So, to me, the issue that they're describing here is not at all the issue that we're addressing. And the only inaccuracy, like I said, that I'm aware of, that they've made us aware of, is the few inches that we were off trying to get underneath that crossing over there. That was a big issue. That was a big deal, and ended up in DeForce account to come up with a fix to
I
it.
feel
But that's
like we're just paying out money, and it's like, is it our fault, their fault, or is it just what happens? But
and
I don't know.
yeah,
Anton, you're a contractor.
He doesn't build roads.
No,
Yeah.
but when he builds a house, people have an expectation too.
Well, I wonder, I think that, to me, it seems like well, I don't know. I mean, I agree with the kind of confusing nature of the wording. I understand what Mike is saying as well. And to me, they're saying that the construction of this new stuff is different than what the plans show, or they're saying that the stuff that's in the ground that they're tearing out is not where it said it was supposed to be, and so therefore that changes the scope of where they put the new stuff. But like Mike said, like, what if they're tearing out the old stuff? What does it matter? Unless, again, it is down in some rock blasted trench, right? Then they're planning on putting it right back in there to make all their concrete connections and enclosures work as ordered, because they obviously have that stuff sitting there well before they dig the hole.
well, I don't think there's any time pressure on this one, because like we have already said, this isn't a number that we know we have to spend. This is just a placeholder, and I'd be happy to have Ed come and talk to us about it and discuss a little more thoroughly the issue description until we're comfortable with what it says.
I feel better with that. It seems like there's enough concern about what we're creating a force account for, to have that be explained. So
Yeah, I'd feel a lot better if we could have that discussion.
okay,
Yeah, I'll invite him to the next meeting.
great.
Great.
So we'll pass on number 18.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, guys, it's not the issue
No.
of the
No, I agree with you.
small force account and what has to be done, but I want to understand
Yep, that's our job.
what the words say.
Yep, it'll be good to have him come and describe it.
Yeah, I'm interested in the engineer side of it, because this wouldn't be the first, if it is, not the first kind of thing that we're surprised by, and it seems like we shouldn't have been maybe surprised by.
Yeah.
Well, it's our taxpayers' money.
Right. Okay, cool, so we'll move on that one. Next thing on the agenda, petition for local improvement. So we have, I believe this was started by a public comment from a certain Jeff Geshes, who said that the alleyway behind the tavern that runs in that way, would love for that to be paved. So now we have a petition for local improvement here that's signed by quite a few of the business owners that are close to that alley, with the request that that the city look into paving that alley. We also have a letter from Tim and Beth Kennedy with their perspective on this situation. And I don't know what the best way to introduce that information is. Did everybody read that?
Yeah.
I don't know if do we have Patrick read that so that that's in the public record then, or what do we do?
I think the issues he brought up are issues we just need to discuss. I mean, they're relevant to all the property owners.
Well,
I
and
see.
one of the things, I already had he brought up what I already have a question about, so I feel like it's not anything we wouldn't think about anyway.
Yeah.
This petition for local improvement is just a legal start of a statutory process that leads to one way for cities to do capital projects that are supported by special assessments. If we don't have any interest in special assessing any of the costs, then it simplifies the process a lot. And you can just order the improvement of your own accord without special assessments if we're not going to borrow any money to pay for it. But if we're going to special assess any portion of the cost, there's a lot of steps involved in that process, including this, the first one, which is an important one. Because property owners are petitioning you for the improvement, it means that as we go through the steps, that you would only need to approve each one by a 3/5 vote. Whereas if you're going to special assess the project without the petition of a property owner, it takes a 4/5 vote in each of those steps. So this is a way to initiate the conversation. I mean, obviously the conversation's been ongoing for some time, but we have not typically done alley improvement projects. And now we're being asked to do one. So I think it kind of raises it to a policy level question for the council is what level you want to be involved in the paving and maintaining of alleys, and if that's different in different places in town.
Yeah, with this, there's a couple things that pop up for me. Number one, Mike, the estimate that was included in the conversations that I saw for the paving, is that what you heard? I mean, I don't know if I should share the number or not, but
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a secret.
46,500 was the number that I saw for the paving and grading of that alley. Does that include, like most alleys that I see are graded towards the center, so that water flows down the middle instead of flowing out to the buildings on either side?
No, it includes, grading, and they do a good job of prepping. We've hired them to do. As a matter of fact, they did some paving for us this week.
Yeah, I saw that.
Right.
So
Would they prep the surface before they?
yeah, so they
Before they blacktop?
grade it and prep it and blacktop it. They do all the work
Okay.
to make a good surface out of it. Whether or not that would address the drainage issues is a different story. And it's really complicated to get in between 8 different businesses and get the elevations right so that all the drainage is going where we want it to go and not onto other people's property. And I think if we wanted to be assured that that was going to be dealt with, we probably need to get our engineers involved and do some survey work and prepare plans. And if we do that, then you can take that number and probably double it in terms of what it's going to cost to do this project.
Okay, I've got a couple more questions then. One, we did engineering. We actually had engineering done for the other alley, the alley that runs behind the old pharmacy and the old Harbor House and all of that stuff. We actually had the engineering done for that,
Did we have that done?
and we didn't have the work done.
No.
Well, we appropriated $6,000, I believe, for that engineering. But
They did some design work for us,
Okay,
and then the
very good.
pharmacy left and the
Right.
restaurant closed, and suddenly the issue was no longer the same.
Right.
Right.
So was there engineering done on it then, or?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
we
was
have a
just
design.
wondering, because we put money towards that.
So this is a little bit different, it's a business district, but on a city street, what do we do when we make improvements? Are the people on the street typically assessed for those changes?
Yes.
Why would we not do that here?
Okay, I'm right there with you.
And I'm not saying, I'm trying to understand, it's like, why would we? I mean, past practice, and if you see what I'm saying, I'm not saying, why wouldn't we? I'm saying, why wouldn't we? Tell me why we wouldn't do that, or maybe why should we do that? Maybe that's a better question.
Tone is important. Yes. My view of this is that I think that we should improve the alley, and I think that there should be a portion of it that is paid for by the businesses there. I don't know what that portion is. To answer your question, Kelly, why wouldn't we? We wouldn't if we didn't think that it would benefit the businesses, or if we felt like that was 100% the city's responsibility to do. since it's being requested by the businesses, by the majority of the businesses there. And even a couple of them said that they're totally fine with being assessed some of the cost. It seems like finding that little, that sweet spot of what's that cost, and trying to figure out how we can solve the problem and not make it worse by making an impermeable surface back there. That's the thing.
Right.
That's really the thing that makes me the most weirded out about paving alleys, is that, like, you got to make sure that water goes somewhere.
Right. I mean, the thing is, though, I mean, they are asking for it. They want it. And so I feel like.
Not all of them.
Not all of them.
Not all.
Not all of them.
Well, and the other,
But
well, and then,
according to the petition, I mean, they've got the number of people they need in order to put this
well, then
forward.
I mean, just Dairy Queen alone would suffice to meet the needs of the petition.
For real?
I'm seeking to understand, so even if I lived on a street that had improvements being done and I didn't want them, I'm being
Yeah.
taxed for it and assessed for it, right?
Right.
That's typically how
Just
it's
like
happened,
when
yeah.
a school levy goes through, if I vote yes, I'm paying, and if I vote no, I'm paying. So the same thing would happen here. And what I'm doing is I'm seeking to understand all this, because this is, I need to process, I'm not against it, I'm not for it, I want to understand in order to make that decision. Because if we're going to take it on and do it, I want to do it the right way, but I don't want to spend thousands of dollars in engineering costs. I would like to figure out a way to make sure that the water is going where it should, not into the buildings. Obviously, Jim doesn't have anything on the backside. The Mayhew building has an entrance on the backside of that alley, so if water builds up, it's going in under their door. I don't know if Jeff has had any issues.
He's got one access point.
Heritage Post maybe could have
They
issues.
just want their parking, really.
I think the tavern's the only one that's for sure told us they had issues.
Okay.
Recent communication.
Okay.
And that's
Yeah.
that one is different than the one behind the Harbor House too, because the one behind the Harbor House actually has a grade to it. This one, I believe, is pretty much dead flat.
Pretty flat, yeah.
So then that's going to be the thing, is what is the flat? What's the lowest point? I mean, is the Mayhew's nice little backyard patio going to get flooded? I mean, to me that seems like that's something that, if we're going to take this project on, we need to do some engineering on it. And I don't know if KGM is prepared to do anything like that. I know
It's
LHP.
KTM.
KTM.
Gosh,
Because
too many-
KGM is absolutely not interested.
No.
in doing
Okay, great.
this.
They're busy.
Yeah.
They're busy.
Um,
Yeah. Sorry, I just see so many trucks going by that have K's and M's and other consonants on it.
yeah.
And we'd be happy, I mean, we would certainly talk to them in more detail about what we would try to do to get it to work well. My suspicion is that there isn't a magic bullet engineering solution, even if we do spend thousands of dollars. We're going to need to raise it in places where it's going to be inconvenient and potentially cause problems for other places. And we might just be better off not overthinking it and prepping it well and paving it, and then just living with it kind of in its existing condition, but nicely paved and maintainable and plowable.
I mean, that's definitely a solution.
So do we plow that then? That would be city?
We haven't plowed alleys typically.
No, I know, but what happens to this, and if we're going to make improvements to it, that's my question is, are we gonna do it the right way? Who's gonna pay for it? Who's gonna then maintain it? And we need to have marking, at least to me, on First Avenue, because all the cars that come through there, and we go through there all the time coming out of the Dairy Queen, and I always think, I'm waiting for a kid to come running out, I'm waiting for a bike to cross that busy sidewalk. I think there needs to be some sort of signage put there for people to, whether they stop, whether they honk their horn, whatever they do, because I think that if we just go forward and say, yep, it's ours and we're gonna do all this, and things go wrong, or we're opening ourselves up for issues as well.
Can I bring up a couple points of concern?
Yep,
The first point, not an engineer, But if you split that lot and have the high point in the center of that block, east to west, in order to have some sort of drainage, an eighth of an inch per foot,
Oh, you froze.
18 inches. Sorry, how about now?
So
Better.
you're saying an eighth of an inch per foot, you'd end up with how many inches?
17 inches in the middle. That whole thing would have to come up.
Well,
That's a
I
lot.
think it already slopes a little bit towards the east. So it
So-
wouldn't necessarily have to absorb all that in the middle, but that's my concern too, Anton, is that the one person who said he's got a drainage problem, we're gonna make it worse.
Right
by
behind
having to
him.
raise the middle.
Right. So that's one thing. And then I guess way back, I think Ben Silence was in, and propane tanks.
Yep.
And the illegal nature of how propane is stored and utilized on those businesses in that. So if we pave that, any sort of solution for, metering and a shared underground or whatever to make it compliant with code gets harder and tears up potentially work we do.
There's a lot of buried utilities in those alleys right now too. I mean, I think would expect to be cutting up our fresh blacktop on a fairly regular basis.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's out.
I'm here. I'm just going to move so I get better coverage.
Gotcha.
So anyway, those are, I guess, two quick points that, it makes me question it.
Well,
Well, first of all, do we maintain the alleys at all?
Yeah.
We do,
Yeah.
okay. Well, maybe
when we get requests to, basically.
we're not maintaining them enough to provide them with, I've driven through there many times and it's sometimes pretty rough.
Yeah.
There's a lot of products we can put on it other than blacktop. There's mulched up blacktop that they're making right now that we could put down on that probably lasts longer than just class 5. That would provide a better surface than what we're getting in that area right now. I'm just trying to
Think outside the box.
think of other things, Blacktopping, yeah, that'd be perfect, be great, but now we gotta discuss what are we doing with the runoff? Where's it going?
Those issues are already there.
Yeah.
Part of this is,
if
there's
it's gravel,
definitely
if it's still permeable, at least.
it's not permeable, really. I know that it's a little bit different than asphalt, but an engineer would classify a class 5 surface as impermeable.
Okay, well,
Well,
I'm just thinking.
two things then. Do we have the businesses thought about, and are they willing to accept whatever runoff situations happen if and when we pay that? 2, can we get LHP to give us a quote on just like how much is it going to cost to get engineering done on this alleyway, and can they get it done in a timely enough manner so that KTM is still on board to do it? Because I think we are sitting on something of a time crunch because KTM is here and they want to be working.
Well, that we're not going to be, unless you tell me to go hire them now,
Yeah,
that's not going to
I'm
happen.
not ready for that.
They're here now, so if you tell me to hire them now, I'll go call them in the morning and we'll get started on this. Otherwise, they're going to leave town before we're ready. And they'll come back.
That quote is
Yeah.
still cool? Like that's...
No, that quote said 10 days, I think. But, it's not like they're going to triple the price. They know what things cost and it's,
Yeah.
if they have to remobilize, I don't know what the rest of their schedule looks like this year, but I wouldn't expect the price to change a whole lot for that.
It
They were
seems-
getting the blacktop from KGM, so they haven't done this yet. KTM will be back. Doing other stuff, I'm sure.
I would think so, yeah.
It doesn't seem like it's in line with the character of this council to just be like, do it. The way that we've done things in the past has been very careful with a lot of consideration. I would be encouraged to go that way as well. This is a tricky situation because if the solution is really just to hire KTM and pave the darn thing, and then just like the businesses are like, sweet, we got a paved alley, we're great, we'll figure out how to make sure it doesn't flood our buildings, then.
And it's not only that alley they're asking for, right? They're asking for the one between the News Herald, or not, the
Yeah.
News Herald.
I consider that
Yeah.
one The whole T is one alley.
Well, it's almost a U shape.
Well, the quote you got was for what? Was that for the other
It's
alley?
for the whole T
and-
alley.
And going back out to Highway 61?
Yeah.
Oh, so,
Yeah, out to 61.
The east-west traveled and the north-south traveled.
okay.
Okay, but it's
Okay.
not that alleyway then between the north side of Beth's, or the
No,
gift
that's
shop
that's private
and the
property.
News Herald.
That's
So-
the News Herald private property.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
private property.
Right.
So
So we're asking.
Cook
for-
County News Herald signing here doesn't
I don't really know why.
affect anything.
They're adjacent to the north-south running.
The north.
Because
Right,
their
'cause it's
property
On the
going-
backside.
Yeah.
comes up from the
Goes
backside.
up
of the
in the
building,
region.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I understand, and I want to help these people, but there's no way that I'm going to sit here tonight and go, yep, let's just spend 46,000 and get it done. Because if we have issues 1 year, 2 years, 5 years from now, they're going to come back and say, well, you guys just did this, you put it in there. And it's like, yeah, because you asked, well, I won't be here 5 years from now, but you asked us, so I won't.
Well, have you been down there lately? Have you looked at what the Dairy Queen's doing?
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
Yes.
that's
Trying to
awesome.
beautify their area there a little bit. It looks really nice.
That
Yep.
looks really good, yeah.
And, you know, I just think at least it's a step in the right direction for us to be talking about this.
Here's
And
what-
also, that's a very heavily walked area,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, yeah, and it could stand to be cleaned up. I mean, between the way the cars park and the dumpsters and it, last year having the porta potties back there and they were blocked by cars. I mean, the handicap one was put there and it was right next to the dumps. It just,
Not a-
Right.
I
Yeah.
would love to improve the area and I'm all for improving the area. But again, if we're gonna do it, I want it done so it's the right way, so that we do know where drainage issues are going, how to deal with all of that. That's
Then-
my preference.
If you are still thinking that assessments are potential, then the next step in this process is to ask our engineers to prepare a feasibility study. In this case, it's not gonna be that involved, right?
Do
It'll
we
be some
only
survey
contract
work.
with LHB then? Is that the only company we contract with?
No, we can hire any engineer we want to. That's who I would recommend we work with here. They have survey crews in town for the project.
Hmm.
You know, so I suspect they'll be able to do it faster
I
than other folks.
think
but-
we should keep special assessments on the table. I think we should get.
Oh, yeah.
I-
Get
if-
an idea of what we're up against
Yep.
with this alleyway. I think we should look into improving it.
If that has been our practice, which it sounds like it is, in the residential, I don't see why business would be any different.
Yeah.
Then I absolutely believe that it should be a partnership. We're willing to take the charge and take the lead, but I believe it has to be a partnership.
Yeah, these properties were special assessed in 2004 when the downtown streets were reconstructed.
Yep.
So,
Mayor and council.
Yeah.
David Labarge here for Chris Hood. I thought I'd just chime in on this point too. I mean, in terms of, talking about an infrastructure project like this, and I guess I'm not quite sure how far down this process at all, or really anything, really the background on this very much at all. I just wanted to note that public bidding, the requirements around that should just be kept in everyone's mind. I think when there was some talk about possibly just hiring out, I don't know if that was a contractor, someone who's in town already, who could get it done. But I think Mike's right, definitely that the next step would be a feasibility study from whoever you choose as an engineer.
And then we use that feasibility study to create public bidding. Go from
Yeah.
there.
well, you'll use that feasibility study to make a determination on whether you want to order the improvement or not. And then after that step, if you've decided to order the improvement, then we talk about, do you want to assess the improvement or not, and how much? And all
How
those
much of the
steps
project.
involve further conversations with the affected property owners.
Okay.
So my suggestion would be, unless you want me to talk to a different engineer, I'm going to call LHB and get a quote from them. And on your next agenda, we'll have a resolution for you to order a feasibility study based on their quote, to take a look at some of these issues for us and get just kind of a preliminary design done.
Yep. I mean, that sounds like the next step.
And I'll explain what
That'd
the
be great.
issues are that we're concerned about, but I'll also tell them, we'd like to keep this as simple as possible, please.
Correct. Thank you.
Because we want to get it done fast if we can.
Right on.
Okay.
And, the assessments, I think, is the biggest issue because most of the property owners have indicated they don't want to pay one. This is not a surprise. That's typically what
Mhm.
I would expect from any property owners. But there are other issues here in terms of the use that we've touched on a little bit, but Tim also brought up in his letter to you. If we do make the improvements to this alley, I think we have to change the way that we enforce its use as well. I don't think we can allow any more private use of this public space that's being improved. So no more dumpsters, no more parking of private vehicles, and there's a lot of businesses that are using it that way right now, and I think that would have to stop. And so part of our conversations with the businesses as we talk about whether or not we're going to order this improvement is that would be our expectation,
Mhm.
and that they need to prepare for that.
Yeah. Seems fair.
Yep.
Awesome.
Let's keep going. We all good on that?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're gonna move right along. So that time has come. The time has come.
Thank you.
Yeah, right. In our meeting in March of 2020, we declared a local emergency via resolution 2020-03. So the time has come where the governor's special powers due to the state of emergency are ending, and thus it seems appropriate by our legal counsel to end our local emergency as well. This can be done by a repeal of resolution 2020-03, which is currently active. This can be done by motion.
So moved.
Yeah. It didn't take
How's
a while.
that?
That's great. Is there a
Boom.
second for that motion?
I'll
There's a
second.
second. Motion and a second. Any further discussion other than snide comments?
Yes. Anton, your participation in this meeting would not be appropriate after this emergency declaration. And so that's a point that I'm making with all the staff and with their boards as well, is that remote participation has they're not new rules, they're the old rules again that you'll have to follow, which means you don't have to be here, although some of us have to be here, but where you are has to be a public place that the public has reasonable access to. And so it can't be your house anymore. And so hopefully that means we'll get to see all your smiling faces down here all the time, but I know that's not always the case, and we do obviously have the means and have been using for some time the means to allow remote participation.
So I
Does
just
that mean
want
I
to clarify.
can leave after we vote aye on this?
No, it doesn't happen until midnight.
So like if we travel, if we're out of state and say, oh gee, I'd want to attend the meeting, we can't jump in by Zoom because we're sitting in.
No, you can, as long as
Tampa.
you're in a public place.
Coffee shop or something.
Okay,
So if you're sitting in your
can we-
hotel room, that's not good. If you're in the lobby of the hotel, that's fine.
That's okay.
okay. And can we participate by phone?
You can participate. I think that you need to have your face be seen. Everybody has to be able to
Okay.
see you.
Okay.
And,
Oh, okay.
I mean,
and hear you.
I wouldn't,
Well,
but
that
I
would
just
be a
wanted to
standard.
clarify. I
think
just
that's
want
a standard.
So, I mean,
Understand.
we've
Okay.
seen a lot of people use their phones with video. and
Yeah.
I think that's adequate.
Okay,
Sometimes.
It's not great.
The time that I was
Yeah,
in my car,
it's- yeah.
anyway. So we have
Okay.
a motion and a second. Any further discussion or clarification? Hearing none, go to roll call vote, which we won't have to do after this. Anton, your vote.
Aye.
Michael, your vote.
Aye.
Craig, your vote.
Aye.
Kelly, your vote.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. The local emergency is no longer an
Yeehaw.
emergency, which is fabuloso. Okay, so now we're going to go to council and staff reports. I'll start with you, Anton. You got anything?
Yeah, I wanted to just ask, did anybody follow up with the newspaper in regards to the 2 calls that the Coast Guard got versus the 22 calls that the Sheriff's Department told us they got to correct that? And I'm wondering if any of you have written a letter or if you have talked to anybody else. I actually got a phone call from a guardsman who was stationed here.
Oh,
I got an
And,
email.
I got an email.
Yeah, I got an email as well.
Okay.
I have not had a chance yet. I do need to do that. It is on my radar and it has to happen, and I apologize.
I submitted a comment,
Okay.
so.
That's all. And I think it's good that if they all come in from, if you're for trying to do that, I think it's good that it comes from us individually, but I guess I also wondered too, if it made sense for us to try and put something together from the council,
Yeah.
as like the city, right? I mean, I think it's important to have our opinions and the ability to kind of maybe be, to opine a little bit more on it, or what we've heard and what we understand in our personal experiences. But I wonder if if anybody has any thoughts on that.
I mean, it would seem, I don't see why it would be inappropriate for the city council to speak on behalf of the city for that. We would have to have a discussion about what we want in that letter, obviously.
Right. Yeah, no, that's all.
Well, we almost have to do that, like, now, right?
Because the comment period is ending in, it's like another month or something, isn't
I
it?
thought it was the end of July.
Yeah, I think you could do it at your next meeting, have a conversation about it.
Put it
Can
on
we-
the agenda?
Great.
Can we do that?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think it's appropriate, yeah.
Yeah.
You got anything else?
Do I know right that we did, Mike, we got the Molly's version of the joint powers agreement for Sawtooth Bluff?
Yes, and I submitted it back to them with some comments, and I don't know what they want to do next yet.
Okay,
One of the things in the comments too is that we'll need to have Chris take a look at it for us at some point.
okay.
Or David.
Well, Chris can do what he wants in his office.
Okay, that was just wondering if who else had to look at it before we got to look at it?
You can look at it right now if you want me to send it around.
Yeah, I'd be interested in
I'd like
that.
to see it. Sure.
Yep, and we should have kept Millsy around because he would have said something and I would have thought of more. But I think that's all I got for now.
Yeah, just wave us down if you think of something else.
I'll have a question and you'll have comment.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, you're done? Okay, Michael, what do you got?
Library.
Library?
Got
it.
Yeah.
Craig, what do you got?
Nothing,
Nothing now?
nothing until next meeting.
There you go. Kelly, you're up.
I don't have any reports. I missed on Monday the Passion Pit one, but the one previous to that was only 40 minutes and we just kind of reviewed some things. I think Tim probably got in contact with you over some stuff. I did have a question as to where are we at on the dog pound update and EDA property? So I thought, Anton, that might jog you.
Funny you should bring that up,
Yep.
Kelly. I think what I understand from our last EDA meeting that they are waiting for like the proposal. Like here's the drawing, here's where it's going to go, and if the EDA gets that information, whether it's something put together from the county, if it's a packet put together with drawings that Peterson Design has done, it's the ask. It's the ask. They're not just going to do it without the ask. So somehow that ask has to happen.
So who is that up to? Us, Sheriff's Department, the county
well,
itself?
All of us, yeah.
All of us.
Most people.
Yeah, I think I did get a phone call the other day because somebody said, yeah, I heard that maybe on the radio that it was going to happen this year, and there's no way it's going to happen this year. And so I guess maybe getting that out there is important to know too, that there's no way it's going to happen this year. But that doesn't mean that, all this background stuff and getting it clarified and actually in possession is not important. I think we should do that. So I think if we can potentially, well, it's not going to happen because it would have had to have happened at this meeting to get in front of the EDA for the July meeting. Right? I think timing wise.
I'm not sure that there's any more work for the council to do at a council meeting on that before we go back to the EDA. It's also, the way you described that is a slightly different nuance than the report I got from that meeting, so I better have a chat with Mary about it too, and make sure I know exactly what is
Well,
expected
I
of
think a
us.
lot of people are confused because I think there's a volunteer who will build it, is my understanding, not a volunteer,
No,
okay?
no.
So does he know that it doesn't have to be on his radar for this year?
Yep. He's the one who said it wasn't going to happen this year.
That's fair.
There you go.
Since Monday?
Well, unless, I don't know who else you're talking, I don't know who you're talking to with
Skill.
the,
Yeah.
yeah. No, he doesn't have any time to do it this year.
Okay, because I had a question posed to me, and I said, as far as I knew, they wanted to know the building site, where exactly it would be, who's mitigating wetlands, all that stuff, which I said, I'm not part of that. I actually directed the question. I said, Anton's our EDA rep.
That, the wetlands all mitigated.
Okay,
The stormwater plan still has to be prepared.
Okay.
That's the
Right.
next, like, before we can go back and say, this is exactly where the building's gonna go, a stormwater plan needs to get prepared.
Okay.
That's the step we're on now.
and that's what we're doing as a city?
We're working with Pat and the county
Okay,
to keep that group together to do that, yeah.
okay,
So I'm not sure who's gonna do what yet, but, I'll reach out to Pat tomorrow and see.
okay.
Okay.
And I don't, and I think that at our last meeting, I talked about that, and maybe I just didn't maybe summarize it as well this time, because it's been a month now, or several weeks since the last one, but the conversation was, the big question from the EDA was the city's willingness to take on or make disappear the special assessments.
Yes. And that was a part of what we did submit to the EDA was that for sure the EDA doesn't have to worry about that. And
Right.
that the city and the county will figure out how they want to deal with it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, if you talk to Mary, that's probably safest, Mike, but I guess, yeah, that's the way I understood the meeting and the conversation and what they wanted to see.
Cool. Does that settle that about?
Okay,
Is that all you have?
that's it.
Okay. I had a post board committee meeting this past week where we discussed policy that the post board is reviewing on specifically on complaints, on the complaints that are lodged against police officers. And boy, I'm telling you, man, learning curve is steep on this stuff. There's a lot of information to jump. We just jumped straight into Minnesota statute for a lot of this stuff. So I mentioned that not to say really the substance of what the work was, but really to say that I'm doing it and I'm really grateful to be doing it. This past Saturday, there was a pride activity in town. I think it's important to mention that we have lots of members in our community who fall into LGBTQIA, and I think that's important for us to be aware of and to acknowledge for this month. That's really all I have.
Awesome.
So, anything else, you guys? Hearing none, we've completed our work for the day. Thank you very much. We are adjourned.
Good night.
Thanks.
Right.